Poverty, in its most brutal form, is the relentless deprivation of basic human needs: food, shelter, health, and dignity, trapping individuals in a cycle of suffering. Raised in East Orange, New Jersey, I experienced a city rich with love, but plagued by poverty, high crime rates, educational barriers, and limited economic opportunities. Housing insecurity hit hard, leading me to move over 18 times by the age of 18. I couldn't really grasp our struggles then, but it left a deep sense that we deserved more. Motivated by the desire to understand and transform the conditions that affected my family and my community, I embarked on a 20-year journey working with the finest institutions in the U.S. dedicated to fighting for social justice, breaking barriers, and building bridges. A true boundary breaker was born. Along the way, I met others who, like me, were transforming their pain into power. Their stories varied, but all were united in their impact and authenticity. That's what the Boundary Breakers podcast is all about, sharing these powerful narratives to inspire, connect, and affirm that we are not alone in the quest for the social good. Join us as we explore these incredible stories of change and resilience. I am Patty Williams Downs, and welcome back to the Boundary Breakers podcast. I am Patty Williams Downs, CEO and founder of Breaking Bounds Enterprises. Welcome back for season 2 of the Boundary Breakers podcast. After such an incredible first season, I could not be more excited to be here with you, starting today with a very special guest. So please join me in welcoming President of Amegy Bank, Laif Afseth.
Thank you, Patty. It's so good to see you, and happy Friday. It's great to be here.
Yes, it's so great to have you here. So we know that you're president of Amegy Bank, but just tell us a little bit more about you, what you currently do, and maybe how you got here.
I will. But first, I want to start by saying I'm such a huge fan of yours. You're awesome. I love your podcast. You know, I could listen to Marvin Pierre talk for hours about 8 million stories. He was amazing. And Lauren Anderson is a legend. And then you've got Stephanie Suru and Kim Roxy, who've created a couple amazing businesses in Houston. Yep. And if I wore makeup, I would wear La Mica.
I love that. Kim is going to love that.
Yeah. In fact, my wife Mary, when I was telling her about your podcast, actually has met Kim Roxy at Anthropology. And she and my daughters were there and actually bought some lip gloss. So she was so cool. It was so cool that you had her on.
Cool occurrence. Look, it's all in the circle.
But you asked me about myself. So, you know, I've been in Texas a long time. I was born overseas, though. So I was born in Hong Kong. My parents grew up in North Dakota and met at the University of North Dakota. My father played basketball there. My mother studied nursing. After college, my dad actually went to the seminary, and they were married and moved to Hong Kong. And my father actually did missionary work there as a pastor for the Lutheran Church. And when he came back to America, he had churches in Milwaukee, in Madison, in Minneapolis, and in Chicago, and then eventually moved our family to Dallas, which is a long story of why we can talk about. But I was so lucky. I mean, I had 2 amazing parents. I lost my dad 22 years ago. My mom's still in Dallas today, but I couldn't have asked for better parents.
What were some of the values they instilled in you?
You know, I was so lucky, you know, having grown up with a father, for the most part, that was a pastor, and my mom being a nurse. I mean, they just always taught me, you know, to appreciate the value in everybody, to appreciate differences in everyone, to find the best in everyone. They taught me the value of hard work and being empathetic and caring about people. And, you know, at the end of the day, that's kind of made me who I am today. It's kind of why I love being in banking.
Yeah. So tell us about, you know, every boundary breaker, they're very clear on their values and clear on their origin story. They're also clear on having moments, pivotal moments, one or several, that sort of shaped you to be who you are now. Can you think back to a particular moment?
You know, it's been a journey, and I'll say it helped a lot having amazing parents who instilled in me a lot of great things. But it also took other people along the way. And I will say that I've been lucky to have a lot of great mentors along the way. we have this in common. We were both athletes.
Yeah.
I have an amazing high school basketball coach, John Paul Fultz. He lives in Dallas. We still get together once a year with some of our other teammates.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was amazing. I mean, and I still think about him a lot and what he taught us. And, he taught us about getting after it and working hard, but he also taught us about being great teammates, about being good sports. And that's kind of carried with me for a long time through my whole life. And I feel like the combination of, my family, my coaches, even some of the other mentors I've had along the way through my journey in banking have been really helpful to shape me with who I am today.
Yeah. So it sounds like people.
Yeah.
People are central to your experiences. Different types of people with different influences have helped you sort of navigate your way through the world.
Yeah. It definitely has been true. I mean, and that's what banking is all about. It's why I love being in banking. I don't know that I could ever do anything differently. I mean, it allows me to be my true, authentic self.
This is good. Okay, tell us how you got there. Tell us how you got from, kid in Dallas to who you are now, because it sounds like it's such a good fit and it's the authentic you. Tell us how you got there.
Well, I grew up being a math guy. So, I mean, math came easy to me. And so I thought about what am I going to study in college? And at the end of the day, I honed in on finance. And so I studied finance in college and I thought, where is that going to take me? And I always had my heart set on being investment banking or maybe banking. And I didn't realize at the time, I grew up in Dallas and I worked and went to school at the University of Texas at Arlington, and I went to A&M for graduate school. But all the best jobs when I graduated were in Houston.
Okay.
So I came to Houston for the opportunity, which is why we can talk about Houston, but Houston's the land of opportunity, city of opportunity. But I mean, I always felt like, this call for finance and banking was kind of in my blood, and it just gives me a chance to be able to help others, and that's what I really appreciate the opportunity to do every day. And I've been doing it for 34 years now, and
yeah.
I think I made it's what I've always wanted to do.
Yeah, you're like, when I look back, I made the right call.
Yeah.
So it sounds like people have helped to shape you. They've helped to help you navigate through the world to find a place that you could be you, and now you get to port that to other people. So talk to us about that. How do you use your position now to help other people?
Well, when I think about the bank, Amogee is a really big bank in Houston and Texas, and we bank all different types of companies. We bank some of the largest energy companies in town, some of the largest private equity firms, some of the largest real estate developers, and those all matter a lot because they're huge employers. They pay large amounts of taxes that provide all the services that we all take advantage of. But at the end of the day, our bank was built on the back of small businesses. It's entrepreneurs. It's people that just started a business from scratch. It's people that may have had the opportunity to buy their first home. I mean, those kinds of things really matter, and they matter to us, and it's where we focus a lot. And so we're spending a lot of time, I know we're going to talk about access to capital.
Yep.
And access to resources.
Yep.
And that is a big theme and initiative within Amogee.
Yeah.
And we allocate a lot of time and resources to make that possible, because at the end of the day, Houston in Texas is driven on the backs of small businesses. And there's over 3 million small businesses in Texas. 40% of them are minority owned.
Yep.
And so access to capital, though, will better position those types of companies to become the big companies over time in Houston.
Yeah.
We have a big bank, a big tower over here in the Galleria, and we host events and bring companies together in that setting. But not everybody is comfortable coming to that setting.
Yeah.
And so we've created other settings where we've actually gone out into the market and brought the bank to the market.
Okay.
And so what's really cool about that is that, we don't have branches on every single corner. But what we do have is the ability through our networks or relationships with the chambers or with CPA firms, with accounting firms, of hosting events in market. Like we just had one a little while ago in the Fifth Ward at the Deluxe Theater. Mm-hmm. And we bring together in partnership with the University of Houston, and we bring them in the room along with the CPA firms, along with the SBA,
Oh, so it's like
accounting
a
firms.
workshop of
It's
sorts.
a workshop.
And building
But
around
we
small.
work with the chamber to help bring
Okay.
companies or entrepreneurs to that setting, and we're just a part of it. So we're a
it.
connector
Yep.
of resources. So, and it's not all about Amogee, because we will also have the SBA there. We'll have CDFIs there, like the Lift Fund that might provide earlier stage financing to companies. But it's a chance for companies to connect with each other. It's a chance for them to get access to other resources that they don't always have access to. And so we're bringing those resources to the market. And we've been doing those formats now every month this year, and we've got a few more planned. We've got one coming in the third ward that we're going to do at the Palm Center. We're hosting a big event for small businesses at our tower with the Asian Chamber later this month. And it's a really cool setting. We, if we host at the tower, we can have 200-300 people come in, which is a lot of different companies and entrepreneurs and resources. If we go out to the community, those are generally 30 to 50 people in those settings. It's smaller, it's more intimate. We get them all get a chance to meet each other, hear their own stories of the businesses that they've created, the challenges that they're facing, sharing best practices. And in some cases, companies are looking for capital. In other cases, they're looking for connections and resources.
Right.
And that's where some of the advisors in the room can help them think through, okay, how do I write a business plan? How do I apply for a loan?
Yep.
How do I leverage the internet to further promote my service or product? How do I increase sales? How do I bid on government contracts?
Right.
Those are all things
that
are happening in that setting.
Yeah.
We're experimenting now with a third format where we're actually around our branches. We're going to have many community roundtables around our branches within a couple mile radius of branches. We're gonna do that. So we got 3 different formats, but the whole key and theme is providing access to resources and access to capital that some don't have.
Access to capital. Small businesses in the United States have historically experienced a unique set of challenges associated with financing their businesses. Goldman Sachs' 10,000 Small Businesses Initiative found that 77% of surveyed small business owners are concerned about their access to capital as smaller institutions tighten their credit line. On top of this, the Get It Financial 2023 Small Business Trends Study identified lack of capital as the third largest challenge facing small businesses, as 28% of surveyed small businesses reported startup costs between $250,000 to $500,000. Through initiatives like the Small Business Diversity Banking Program, Amegy Bank invests in greater equity for small businesses owned by racially diverse populations, women, veterans, and the LGBTQ community.
What you are using your leadership to solve for is breaking the barrier of access. And you're like, yes, it's important for us to bank with big companies. It is more important, or equally as important, for us to bank with the community that serves Houston, which are small business owners. And, that sounds really important to you. But I want to come back to, why is that so important to Laif as a person?
That's a good question. I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like, being a banker, being a person that is in this business, like, we're here to help others. I mean, at the end of the day, we're trying to make Houston a better place to live and a better community for all, help create opportunity for everyone. And I personally believe that all companies, regardless of size, need to have the ability to know what their options are. And big companies know what their options are.
Yeah.
Smaller companies don't have that same access. And it matters to me because our bank needs to be a reflection of the community that we serve, whether that's the people that work in our walls or the companies that we do business with. And everybody deserves an opportunity. And the only way we can have that happen is they either come to us or we go out to them.
Yeah.
And everybody needs to know what their options are. And companies may need, at earlier stage, startup companies may need that type of capital. Other companies along the way might need help with working capital or equipment financing, or they're trying to buy out a partner. But at the end of the day, we're helping people live their dreams and make their dreams come true.
Yep.
And by growing their businesses, providing for their families, hiring other friends or colleagues,
or Houstonians.
Creating opportunity for others. I mean, that's kind of what it's all about. It helps. That's what I love about Houston. I mean, there's no better city in the entire country that is open to helping provide opportunity for others.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever read the book Prophetic City by Stephen Kleinberg. I'm rereading it again.
Yeah.
But he talks about how he's been following the city of Houston for the last 40 years and keeping track of the demographics. And everybody knows Houston is the most diverse city in America today. And the rest of America is going to look like Houston over the next 50 years.
Yeah.
So we are what the rest of the country
future,
is going to
literally.
be, the future. Now, that's not to say that so I do believe there's opportunity for everybody, but everybody didn't start with the same advantages as everybody else. And that's why there's areas in Houston that need more help. And we're trying to find a way to bring resources and capital to those.
It sounds
businesses.
Really aligned with so much of your origin story, both how your parents shaped their lives and what they were able to offer. I think your mom was in the healthcare industry.
She was a nurse. She
Right.
was a surgical nurse for 50 years. You know, they were amazing parents. I mean, they taught me a lot. You know, they taught me it's the same themes that we think about at Amogee. I'm so lucky because, you know, our bank was started by a guy named Walter Johnson. He's 87 years old, and his wife works with him. And he started the bank from scratch 34 years ago. I've been so lucky to be a part of it for the last 21 years. And, you know, he created this culture within Amogee of everyone counts. Everyone counts. And what that means within Amogee is, you know, we value everyone. We respect everyone. We're gonna be empathetic.
Yeah.
We're gonna treat everybody. Everybody is available to bring their true self to the bank every day.
But there's a difference between saying that for
Yeah, and
corporations and living it.
And living it.
And you've been with your own leadership about ensuring access and opportunity, not just outwardly to the city of Houston, but also internal to Amogee. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, we've really worked hard to expand our base of outreach efforts within the community. I mean, and it matters to me. It really does. I mean, I think we help create opportunity for others, and like I said before, it kind of helps make Houston a better place. I like to think that we are making progress every day. We don't have it right in every situation. You know, we're a work in progress too, but we really are intentional about our efforts.
Yeah, I was going to say, talk a little bit more about what you're doing very consciously and intentionally to ensure that everyone has the same opportunities and access internal to the bank. What does that look like for an employee per se?
Yeah, it comes in a couple different forms. If you're looking within our walls, what I would say is that, you know, we focus a lot on this theme of everyone counts, but we've created a culture which is really based on caring for each other and respecting each other and valuing each other and making sure everybody has a seat at the table and a voice. That's easy to say. It's not necessarily easy to execute on, and I like to think that we're gaining on it every day that goes by. But it takes intentional efforts. You know, we think a lot about our workforce, and that's recruitment, and it's out recruiting in a college setting. We're going to multiple schools across the city, not just focused on a couple. We do go to the University of Texas, we go to Texas A&M, but we're also going to Prairie View, we're going to TSU, we're going to Sam Houston State, we're going to University of Houston. Those are the generally Houston area schools that we're recruiting from. And we have the ability to recruit a more diverse workforce than we might otherwise have. So that's one theme, is recruitment.
Yep.
But then once you recruit them, you got to coach them, you got to mentor them, you got to create career mobility paths for them and show what's possible. And so we've worked really hard on that and to show what is possible. And it can't happen overnight, but we've made huge amounts of progress with the diversity of our workforce, which is a reflection of the community that we serve.
Okay.
And then the other theme that we have is thinking about workplace.
Okay.
And that's employee engagement. And that's making sure people feel like they've got a seat at the table.
Right.
And that's not easy either.
Yeah.
But we work hard to create settings in resource groups. We have about 10 different business resource groups.
Okay.
You might hear them also called employee resource
Yep.
groups. They're affinity groups. But they're not only comprised of colleagues that identify with those affinity groups, they have other advocates that are part of those. And so they're really awesome settings for us to get together and talk about how do we create pathways of opportunity within the bank for those with different backgrounds. And mentoring matters a lot. Coaching matters a lot. Career mobility matters a lot, and showing what's possible.
So it sounds like you all are, to your point, creating places and spaces, right, for really diversity to fuel how people experience the culture, but also what happens to a person's experience. So can you give us an example maybe of like what has come out of this? Because I know you probably have all been at it for a couple of years. Has anything come out of this that you feel like has fueled the future of Amogee or fueled something in the bank?
So these resource groups are amazing. I mean, we created our kind of Everyone Counts initiative about 10 years ago. It's led by a woman named Brenda Cooper. Brenda is an ALF fellow, and she leads that effort for us. And we have a strategic committee that thinks about what our goals and objectives are for all these various settings that we have. But what's been really great about our business resource groups is they have a hand in our recruiting effort. They have a hand in how we allocate sponsorship dollars throughout the city in various not-for-profits or community events that are occurring. They have a hand in that. They have a hand in these community roundtables because they have great relationships with all the various chambers across the city, and we're leveraging all of their relationships and backgrounds and experiences to help better understand each other.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I think it's the right thing to do, but it's also good for business.
Yeah, talk more about that.
It's really good for business. These groups also are really committed to helping us with our marketplace efforts, because all of them live all over this city, have lots of different relationships and backgrounds that we all may not all have. And they help us with access to those relationships that they'd like us to further explore.
Yeah.
And it helps drive new business to the bank, even if it's under-resourced areas, and we've got programs for companies no matter what stage they're in. It may not only be Amogee that's helping those companies. It may be other resources and partners that we have that can help people at different stages of their lives or different stages of their companies. So it's not always all about us. I mean, we're trying to just be a good advocate out in the marketplace and leveraging those employee resource groups to that end.
Yeah. I mean, what you're saying is not only intentional, but to your point, beneficial. And it's mutually beneficial.
Beneficial.
Right? So you bringing together a diverse group, or the bank bringing together diverse groups, helps you to spigot out into diverse recruiting. Right?
Yeah.
Diverse community building and connecting. And there is an outward and an inward sort of pouring in of sorts that it seems like happens because you're able to orchestrate diversity within the bank.
And we encourage everybody to become involved. I mean, Steve Stevens is the CEO of the bank. I mean, he's kind of been there from the start with Walter. I've been there 21 years. We've been at it together a long time. And it matters to all three of us. I mean, it really, really does. At the end of the day, the bank's got to be built on lots of different types of companies, lots of different individuals that make us what we are today. And diversity of opportunities helps us as well.
Yeah. What's been challenging about that journey? Organizations that make the pivot to this direction, albeit incredibly beneficial for humans, but also for business, it's still a pretty tough journey. Like you said, you're like, getting people to feel engaged, great, but not, it's not that easy. So what's been tough for you as the president along this journey?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm thinking external, the bank was built on the back of small businesses. I mean, it's always been in our DNA.
Niche,
it's always been our DNA. And we help a lot of companies, but we don't help every company. And I wish we would. I wish we had an opportunity to talk to every single small business in Houston, even if we can't help them. we can help direct them in the right place. And they need, everybody deserves to know what their options are at whatever stage that they're in. So we take a lot of pride in trying to uncover intentional efforts to try to reach all the companies that are out in the city or across the state in our market areas. I mean, we're really trying hard intentionally about that. Internally, we're working hard on employee engagement and trying to get everybody involved, give everybody a seat at the table. Steve and I will say, our doors are always open. You could have started with us the first day today, or you could be here 30 years. If you've got a great idea, we want to hear it. It doesn't matter. The best ideas at Amogee don't start and are created on the 24th floor of our tower. They're usually down on the ground level. And so we're always out at our branches with our newly onboarded colleagues, because they sometimes bring different experiences with where they've been before they came to us. And if they've got a good idea, man, we'd like to take advantage of it. I mean, it doesn't matter. Our doors are always open.
I'm imagining if I'm an employee that has to feel accessible, which I think goes back to what you're trying to create. I can also imagine your calendar is probably wild. Like, I'm literally imagining if you have Outlook and you get to color code it, it looks like a crayon box probably exploded. And you're probably pulled in several different directions. And I can imagine that makes it hard for you to be both available to people, but also be available to your competing responsibilities. So talk a little bit about that.
It does. Although I will say, and I like actually talking about this topic, being in control of your schedule.
Okay.
And, I think it's really important for all of us to think about how do we control our own schedule, because we could come to the office every day and do things that other people want us to do all day long. Our inboxes are full of thousands of emails, lots of calls, but at the end of the day, I feel like I think about every morning, what do I want to accomplish today? And so I will prioritize what I really want to do. And I hope that all of our bankers and think about intentionally, what do we want to accomplish today?
But this is great. So what surfaces for you when you think about a day or a week that you are prioritizing? Also, I saw a master class with Bob Iger and also Jeff. They do the same thing. They are very, very particular about how their 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. goes. And lots of executives find themselves managing their time pretty well. But so what comes up for you, though, when you're top priorities?
It's a combination of different things. I have oversight for a number of different of our lending groups, and I'm thinking about strategy for the bank and where we're headed. And that's where a lot of this fits in around access to capital, the culture of the bank. We haven't talked yet about financial education, which I want to get to in a minute. And thinking about what the priorities of the bank are and where we want to allocate resources and time and rally efforts. There's a woman named Angela Blanchard in town. I don't know if you know her. She's a force of nature, and she ran neighborhood centers, which is Baker Ripley. And she says, what gets led gets done. And so we're thinking about that all the time over what are our key priorities and putting the right people in the right places to fulfill the collective vision that we have for the bank. And one of those is financial education. And I hope you don't mind if we pivot to that just for a second.
Go for it.
It's also been really, really important to us that we help better educate all of Houston on financial related topics. And so a long time ago, we have had a dedicated team of people that are doing outreach for financial education. We have a guy today named Dex Davis. Dex is amazing. He's got more energy than anyone you've ever met. And Dex is a 20-year Army chemicals major. Okay. And he did 2 tours in Iraq, and he leads our financial education efforts. Every single day, he is either at a school, at a not-for-profit, doing a workshop on for first-time home buyers, or helping us with our small business roundtables every single day, all day long. He is amazing. He is a force of nature, and we're doing so many good things. And one thing, as it relates to those couple of topics where he's focused, one of them that really comes to mind is a program that we target students called Enriching Tomorrow.
Okay.
And that was created by Steve Stevens and Diane Mabin, who's also coincidentally an ALF fellow. That's a theme today. We got a lot of great ALF fellows at the bank. And Diane, created this vision called Enriching Tomorrow, where we are bringing in the spring and the fall, we bring 200 middle schoolers to our tower. It's an amazing setting. We bust them in.
Wow.
From HISD, from ALEAF, from Spring Branch, from Provision, from KIP, which I know is near and dear to your heart. We bring kids in from those schools, middle school kids. So imagine 200 of them in our auditorium, okay? And they're there for 2-3 hours. And what's really amazing about that setting is we bring business owners in that have created companies that look like them, that they can relate to.
Yep.
I mean, it's a very cool experience
powerful.
that tell their story. And we close with financial literacy, and Dex kind of leads a little bit of that, and some of our bankers do. And we have a theme that I think is really fun. It's like how to be a millionaire. That is the theme that we close with. And it talks about, for all these kids, really at the end of the day in this setting, it's helping them dream big and showing and telling them that anything is possible. Because they may be in neighborhoods where they can't see beyond their neighborhood. And so coming to our tower, experiencing what it's like, being in this beautiful setting, seeing other bankers and business owners and leaders that look like them show that it's possible. And it's such a cool setting.
Yeah.
And we've got one coming up again this fall, and it's going to be amazing. And these kids get a chance to, and you may be wondering, why do we focus on the middle schoolers? Well, there's lots of programs for younger kids. There's, once they've moved to high school, they're thinking about college, they're thinking about trade school, they're thinking about going to work. But the middle schoolers are just about to enter in that really critical time. And we felt like there was a void there that we could fill. And so we're focused on those 6th, 7th, and 8th graders that are thinking about what their path is going to be, and trying to help them understand like anything really is possible. And we have so many stories at the bank of individuals from all different walks of life that have come from all over this world that have created companies right here in Houston from scratch that are amazing stories. And it shows you what's possible in Houston. Yeah.
That's incredible. So a lot of exposure, a lot of access, both internal and external to the organization or the company. But it sounds like you just, what you do is you use your resources to be intentional.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what it's all about. It really is. I mean, it's so easy to just bank the biggest. I mean, I love these companies, but they're huge companies. They have lots of different options for capital. They've got very sophisticated professional management teams, and we provide huge amounts of capital to those companies. But Houston needs us to do that. We also are focused on these big private equity firms or real estate developers that are building kind of everything you see in Houston. We finance a lot of them. But at the end of the day, all of those companies greatly appreciate that we are allocating resources to small businesses, because someday they will all be big businesses, and they know what it's like, because a lot of them were on that journey early in their career. They started at the ground floor and found their way to the top floor. I mean, it didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of time and work, and so it takes advocates like us to make that possible.
So if Amogee had its way and it was able to create this vision that you carry of more access and more community and connection, what would Houston look like?
We are a model for the rest of the country to study, because it's not to say that we don't have challenges and we don't have under-resourced areas, because we do. But we all need to work together to change that, because there's room for everybody. That's, at the end of the day, the bottom line. There is room for everybody to be at the table and everybody to have success in this city. Now, it takes intentional efforts to help make that more possible, because not everybody has the same resources, relationships, or access that others have. And so we've got to be balanced in our approach. And it takes intentional efforts, because, a lot of these under-resourced areas don't have relationships to know who to call. They don't have connections into Amogee or to JP Morgan or Bank of America, or Wells Fargo. They don't have access. And so we have worked really hard try to be intentional to get out there to develop those relationships. A lot of it's through chambers. The chambers are very well connected. A lot of it's through the Small Business Administration. They've got their hands in a lot of different areas across Houston. It's also through our employees, because our employees live all over this city and come from all walks of life, and they've got their own personal relationships, and they want to help the bank. They want to help their local communities too, so they're helping bring us to their communities.
Yep. So it's through people, for people.
Yeah.
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 So last question. What do you want your legacy to be?
Yeah, I hadn't really thought much about legacy yet, although it's coming faster than I think it's coming. I've been at this for 35 years, right? So you're wondering, like, how much longer can I keep doing it? But I love what I'm doing. I wouldn't change a single thing looking back over the last 35 years. I've loved every day that I've been in banking. It was what I was meant to be. It's what I'm meant to finish my career doing. I like making a difference. I like helping people realize their dreams. And like I said before, like, there's room for everybody. So let's just make it happen together.
Yeah. You want to make room for everybody and make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time and your leadership in the community, and really, really grateful that you could share your story.
Thank you so much, Patty. I've loved being here. Thank you for having me.
Yes,
All
for
right.
sure. And that's another episode of the Boundary Breakers podcast, where we are amplifying the voices of leaders who are transforming the world through their unique gifts and talents. As you have heard, Boundary Breakers rarely get there alone. If you are a current or aspiring executive seeking to enact meaningful change in your organization and the world, visit our website and learn more about Boundary Breakers strategy consulting and executive coaching services. Or if you believe you fit the profile of a boundary breaker with a message that has the potential to inspire our listeners, share your story with us through the email address in the description. Finally, don't forget to like and subscribe to be the first to know when the new episodes are uploaded. Until then, continue breaking boundaries.